Welcome to empowering user interaction with filters and highlighting. After watching this video, you should be able to use different filters on data in Tableau and use highlighters to make visualizations more effective. Tableau provides various types of filters such as data source filter, range filters, wildcard filters, and relative date filters. You can select the appropriate filter type based on your data and analysis requirements. In this video, first, I'm going to walk you through a demo on using filters, but let's go ahead and first sign in by providing your credentials. Click on the sign in button. And for this demonstration, under the Learn tab, Sample Data, if you scroll down to a category called, I think it's government. Here we go. Yes, government. We're going to use the U.S. construction spending by value category going from 2002 until 2016. Again, this is under the sample data. Click on the CSV to download the file. And then I'm going to scroll back up to the top. We're going to use the web authoring tool in this demo, which will launch my connect to data. We're going to go ahead and connect to the data source. Click on the upload from computer. And I know my downloaded file is on my downloads folder. Select it, click open. It will take a second to load my file into Tableau. And then let me just expand this a little bit more. Update now to load my data pane. And then I'm going to go ahead and click on sheet 1 to extract my data. Once my data is extracted, as you can see in here, we're right now on sheet 1 and we are ready to start building visualizations. As I mentioned before, we're going to practice how to make use of different types of filters on this visualization. So first, let's start with a column or a dimension called DT description. I'm going to drag this and drop it to the columns. And as you can tell here, we have so many different descriptions or different attributes for this dimension. What I want to do is I only want to display the last 3, the total construction, the private construction, as well as the public construction. Let me drag this back into my data pane, and then up on the data tab, again, what I'm trying to do here, I'm trying to filter this dimension down to display only 3 attributes. So from the data menu, go to your file, and from the sub menu, you click on edit data source filters. This is how you manage your filters within the visualization. Click on this one, add filter. This is going to display a list of all your dimensions and measures, all related to the same data source or the same file that you upload. So basically, the same columns that you see here will actually be the same here as well. So in this case, I want to filter down my DT description. So you pick the column. I want to tell it only select the total construction, the total private construction, and the total public construction. So in my filter, only going to include these checked box 1, and it's going to exclude these guys. Click OK, and then click OK again. Then I'm going to go back to my DT description, which is the same dimension that I just applied filter to. Drag it to the column. As you can see now, it's filtered down to show only these 3 attributes. Let's take another example. For example, I also have another dimension called the cat description. Let me drag this and put it on the rows. We have a lot of description here. What I want to do here, I want to filter this down to exclude anything that has the word annual rate. Let's manage this through filters. Again, Let me put this back. Actually, you know what? You probably don't need to put this back or drag this back to the data pane. I'm going to go ahead and go up to the data menu. Again, the same way we did with the DT code or DT description, and edit my data source. I'm going to add another filter here. And this time is going to apply to the CAD description. And let's go ahead and make use of wildcard. I'm going to tell it, I want all the data except for these guys that does not, only the data that does not contain the word annual rate. So display all attributes except display all attributes that the attribute that does not contain the word or the value annual rate. Click OK, click OK again, and the visualization is going to update to exclude anything that include the word or the value annual rate. So far we have a couple filters applied for both of these dimensions. Now, let's manage and see what can we do with the values. We drag the value and put it here. This is going to display all these measures or quantitative values for each one of those. But let's visualize this a little bit better. I want to see this in bar charts. Let me drag this and put it up on the columns. So as you can see, every CAD description here has its own bar chart that displays the CAD description, DT description, as well as the value. Some of these values are so minimal, right? So here, for example, you can barely see this, like so minimal. How can we manage this? Through filters. Let's see what we can do in here. I want to go back to my data. And again, to the data source, go to my edit filters, and I want to tell it for these values. So let's pick the val measure or column. And I want to tell it, I want to start with, again, you can do, so many different measures in here, so many different criteria, I should say, that you can manage. You probably can also only include or exclude null values using this category. But what I want to do here, I want to go ahead and start as a minimum value with 1500, for example. And then click OK. As you can see, another OK in here, these bars got adjusted as well. I want to go ahead and exclude my total construction. Just click on it and right click and exclude it. And your visualization will be updated. Any filter that you apply here, just keep this in mind. Any filter that you apply here, it's only going to impact the visualization that you're trying to build and design. This is not going to impact your actual file or your actual data source. Now, let's see if we can show this. I'm going to click on this one, show filter. This is going to show the legend for this filter. As you can see, the total construction is excluded because I excluded it from the visualization. I want to also go ahead and put my values here on the filter. And I want to tell it, I want to go ahead and do the sum starting from really any value, doesn't matter. Click OK. And I want to show my filter here as well. So that way, let me actually put this guy back. What I did here to grab a copy of this one, just hold down the control key on the keyboard and just using your mouse, drag a copy of this one to the columns shelf as well. So that way we can keep the columns as bar chart as well as showing the filter on the legend as well. So here you can better manage it. Basically, you're trying to make this more interactive. So you can drag the bar however you want or whatever values that you're trying to display on this one. Make sure that you save your work by publishing it. I'm going to name it as filters and highlighters. Click publish. That's going to save my visualization. Okay, let's see what we can do with highlighters. For example, here, if you click on one of the bars here, it will highlight the bar and dim the rest. You can also click on a whole row to highlight this entire row. And again, it's going to dim the rest for you. You can also click on a column, which will do the same thing by highlighting and dimming the rest as well. Now, on the analysis menu, there is also a menu and a sub-menu called highlighters. Let's see what we can do with that menu. If I click highlighters and I click on cat description, I'm going to add both of these highlighters to the right side in here. So I'm going to click on cat description. It's going to add a highlighter for this one. And then I'm going to also do the same thing for my second option here for the DT description to also add a highlighter description for this one as well. Look what happens here. So for the highlighting the cat description, as soon as you click here, it will display everything or all the attributes that relates to this dimension. So if I click on educational, it will highlight the educational one for me in here. You can also pick another one here. If you want to highlight non-residentials, it does the same thing. Again, for the second dimension in here, if you want to highlight all public construction as columns, and again, with the DT description, these are columns, right? Because we have it on the column shelf, and these guys are rows because we have these as rows on the rows shelf as well. Thank you for watching.